Among all the cases of UFO sightings throughout history, there are only a few cases where UFOs have triangular shape. Also, very few of these sightings have reported the landing of unidentified flying object on the surface of the Earth. Few of them have a monument. In this video, a very special case of UFO sightings throughout history, which contains 3 characteristics that are rare in UFO sightings throughout history. Where a mysterious, triangular-shaped UFO landed in a forest, and a monument to the event was made, it also called the British Roswell Incident. We will list the events of one of the most important cases of UFO sightings in Britain, and it is considered one of the most important cases in the history of the UFO in a series of videos. Britain's Roswell Rendlesham UFO Incident Part 1. Rendlesham Forest is owned by the Forestry Commission and consists of about 5.8 square miles of coniferous plantations, interspersed with broad-leaved belts, heathland, and wetland areas. It is located in the county of Suffolk, about 8 miles east of the town of Ipswich. In late December 1980, there was a series of reported sightings of unexplained lights near Rendlesham Forest, Suffolk, England, which have become linked with claims of UFO landings. The events occurred just outside RAF Woodbridge, which was used at the time by the United States Air Force USAF. USAF personnel, including Deputy Base Commander Lieutenant Colonel Charles I Holt, claimed to see things they described as a UFO sighting. The incident occurred in the vicinity of 2 former military bases, RAF Ben Waters, which is just to the north of the forest, and RAF Woodbridge, which extends into the forest from the west and is bounded by the forest on its northern and eastern edges. At the time, both were being used by the United States Air Force and were under the command of Wing Commander Colonel Gordon E. Williams. The base commander was Colonel Ted Conrad, and his deputy was Lieutenant Colonel Charles I Holt. The main events of the incident, including the supposed landing or landings, took place in the forest, which starts at the east end of the base runway, or about 0.3 miles to the east of the east gate of RAF Woodbridge, from where security guards first noticed mysterious lights appearing to descend into the forest. The forest extends east about 1 mile beyond East Gate, ending at a farmer's field at Capel Green, where additional events allegedly took place. Orfordness Lighthouse, which skeptics identify as the flashing light seen off to the coast by the airmen, is along the same line of sight about 5 miles further east of the forest's edge. At that time it was one of the brightest lighthouses in the UK. The occurrence is the most famous of claimed UFO events to have happened in the United Kingdom, ranking among the best-known reported UFO events worldwide. It has been compared to the Roswell UFO incident in the United States, and is sometimes referred to as Britain's Roswell. The UK Ministry of Defence stated the event posed no threat to national security, and it therefore never was investigated as a security matter. Skeptics have explained the sightings as a misinterpretation of a series of nocturnal lights, a fireball, the Orfordness Lighthouse, and bright stars. Around 3 o'clock on the 26th of December 1980, reported as the 27th of December by Holt in his memo to the UK Ministry of Defence, the security patrol near the east gate of RAF Woodbridge saw lights apparently descending into nearby Rendlesham Forest. These lights have been attributed by astronomers to a piece of natural debris seen burning up as a fireball over southern England at that time. Servicemen initially thought it was a downed aircraft, but upon entering the forest to investigate they saw, according to Holt's memo, what they described as a glowing object, metallic in appearance, with colored lights. As they attempted to approach the object, it appeared to move through the trees, and the animals on a nearby farm went into a frenzy. One of the servicemen, Sergeant Jim Peniston, later claimed to have encountered a craft of unknown origin while in the forest, although there was no publicized mention of this at the time, and there is no corroboration from other witnesses. Shortly after 4 o'clock, local police were called to the scene, but reported that the only lights they could see were those from the Orfordness Lighthouse, some miles away on the coast. After daybreak on the morning of the 26th of December, servicemen returned to a small clearing near the eastern edge of the forest and found 3 small impressions on the ground in a triangular pattern, as well as burn marks and broken branches on nearby trees. At 10:30 the local police were called out again, this time to see the impressions, which they thought could have been made by an animal. Georgina Bruni, in her book You Can't Tell the People, published a photograph of the supposed landing site taken on the morning after the first sighting. The deputy base commander, Lieutenant Colonel Charles Holt, visited the site with several servicemen in the early hours of the 28th of December 1980, reported as the 29th of December by Holt. They took radiation readings in the triangle of depressions and in the surrounding area using an ANPR-A27, a standard-use military radiation survey meter. Although they recorded 0.07 milliroentgens per hour, in other regions they detected 0.03 to 0.04 milliroentgens per hour, around the background level. Furthermore, they detected a similar small burst over half a mile away from the landing site. Holt recorded the events on a microcassette recorder. It was during this investigation that a flashing light was seen across the field to the east, almost in line with a farmhouse, as the witnesses had seen on the first night. The Alford Ness Lighthouse is visible further to the east in the same line of sight. Later, according to Holt's memo, 3 star-like lights were seen in the sky, 2 to the north and 1 to the south, about 10 degrees above the horizon. Holt said that the brightest of these hovered for 2 to 3 hours, and seemed to beam down a stream of light from time to time. Astronomers have explained these star-like lights as bright stars. No matter how many years pass, the mystery still haunts the men tasked with investigating the UFO sighting, along with a ufologist who still seeks answers today. One of Suffolk's most unusual incidents took place at over 40 years ago. But what do we actually know about the county's alleged encounter with UFOs? Over the course of several evenings beginning on December 26, U.S. airmen based close to Rendlesham are spotted strange lights in the sky. Guards at the East Gate saw what they thought was a downed aircraft, said retired USAF Colonel Charles Holt, speaking about the case on a visit to Suffolk in 2018. Lieutenant Colonel Holt said, "I saw something glowing, a red-orangey object. It was displacing sparks or molten metal," he said. "We watched it for a period of time, then it silently exploded into white objects, sort of like fireworks, then they disappeared." When he saw the lights again they were moving in a grid-like search, Lieutenant Colonel Holt said. He does not know what he saw that night, but Lieutenant Colonel Holt is clear on one thing: the craft was under intelligent control.